afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, who is non-Brazilian in the audience? Very good. How many of the non-Brazilians work for the private sector? Excellent. And government or industry association? Very well. Okay. Well, what we want to cover today is give you a little bit, some numbers for benchmarking. Of course, the video that Apex showed is very illustrative, but we have a few comparative slides that are very interesting as well. Some general market indicators, show you why Brazil works as a South American hub. We want to give you also some strong IT market metrics currently happening in Brazil and the Brazilian market. Our vision of some of the challenges that we have going forward and some of those challenges that we can meet both together, Brazil and South Africa. The core values that we see that would be very prevalent for a sustainable growth and sustainable alliance. Where we can partner up right now, and what Brazil can bring to the table. Brazilian numbers. This slide we're going to present to you now is a slide where we combine 3 different criteria in one single snapshot. We want to combine countries with land mass over 4 million square kilometers. We want to combine countries with over 100 million population, and we also want to combine countries with over 2 trillion GDP. When you take those 3 criteria and put into a single snapshot, only 3 countries match it. That's Brazil, China, and the United States. What that does, let me go back, is what that does as far as general market indicators, people don't realize the sheer size of Brazil, where they have the 2nd largest commercial air fleet, with the 2nd largest private executive jet market, 3rd largest market for TVs, 3rd for refrigerators, and it goes on. Most multinationals have been on the ground for over 40 years, some actually over 50 years. And what that does, it basically embeds into our best business practices in every single sector. So when we're talking about sharing international quality standards, those are embedded because of the presence that we've had of all these multinationals for all these decades. Itc Market Indicators, we have domestic market over $120 billion, and when we say ICT, we're combining obviously information technology and telecommunications. An average growth rate of over 6.5% for the last 5 years. Brazil, of course, just like South Africa, is considered one of the emerging markets and has been able to attack one of the main problems of emerging markets, which is wealth redistribution. And that reflects the average growth rate we have for the IT market. 1.7 million related IT professionals currently today are involved in some way in delivering IT services or IT products to the local market. We have 77,000 new IT professionals every single year put out. And out of those 77,000 IT professionals, almost half of it is at the PhD level. Over 60,000 IT indigenous companies from the north to the south of the country. And out of those 60,000, we have about 10 to 15% who are currently trying to engage in some type of international partnership and address different markets around the world. 1 computer for every 3 inhabitants, and Brazil has over almost 200 million population currently. And 200 million cell phones, and about 6–7% of that already in the 3G area. 3G has had a very good experience currently in Brazil and is growing at an average rate of about 20% every 6 months. And also, currently, most companies in Brazil, most organizations, are spending an average of 6% of their total budget, total investment budgets in IT. Now, looking at Brazil as a strategic partner in building a global service delivery platform, there are some challenges, and some of these challenges we'd like to share with you. One, unstable economies. We perceive that what Alan Greenspan coined as being the roller coaster, meaning that in the future, it's not going to be completely only stable. We're going to see ups and downs, and that is a challenge for everyone to tackle. We've seen currently that governments had to step in, and as a result of that, we have large government deficits, and that's the new challenge that governments are facing. Increased maturity adopting technology for competitiveness. I think the 2000 Y2K issue was a first wake-up call for many companies to understand that how dependent we are on technology for our business processes. And that's increasing. With new technology, new advancements, now we have SaaS, we have cloud computing, so we're constantly moving and more dependent, reliant on having IT support our business processes. Client organizations increased in their focus on core. There is a book I'd like to share with you called Manta Capitalism. It's a book by two VPs of change management of Price Waterhouse. It's Grady Means and David Schneider. They, in 2000, forecasted that in the future, most companies are going to be focused on two main things. One, brand equity. Two, customer relationship. Anything else that you do actually supports those two things. So if you can outsource it, so you can release that energy and put that energy more into provide better services, provide better attendance to the needs of the customers, which then in turn will provide more value to your brand. That's the way to go. So services in the IT industry is only going to see increase. But it's a challenge. Greater demand for deep industry domain knowledge. More and more clients need that you understand of their business. I've often said in other presentations that we currently live something called the myopia of the preposition. And people laugh at that. What does this mean, Robert, myopia of the preposition? Well, we often hear, focus on the client. Well, the client does not want your focus on him. He wants you to understand of his problems better than he actually does. So we're saying it's focus of the client. And that's where the myopia of the preposition is. A lot of organizations still are tackling how to make that transition and really be in sync with the customer's business. There's another gentleman that I think it needs to be commented here. He's a Chief Innovation Officer for CSC, a big system integrator in the United States. And he recently in Mumbai at the NASCOM Leadership Forum mentioned, going forward, companies only have two challenges. One, customer intimacy. And that doesn't mean that you know the CEO's wife's birthday and you're going to send her a birthday card, but it means that you understand about his problem better than he actually does. And two, thought leadership, where because you understand the client's problems better than he actually does, he will follow you through whatever you see fit for him to grow his business. Greater demand for IP and value creation. Again, in the same sense of going forward, customers don't want suppliers, they don't want vendors, they want partners. They want companies who can align with them and help them build greater value to their customers. Future growth targets will come mostly from developing countries. And this is where an area where we think we definitely can collaborate with South Africa. We have been having this message to most other developing countries as well, where most of the future economic growth is not coming from the developed world. We have seen with this last financial hiccup in which who's carrying the load today? The emerging markets. And it seems that it will keep on for the future. So how do we tackle those type of customers' needs, where there's different cultural alignments and where there are currently different needs? Well, strategic alliances.